Hey there, my name's Sully and welcome to the Gun Club. Now, in this video, we're going to go through some crime statistics. And we're going to do a little bit of truth versus fiction because I think there's a lot of information out there that's bad. Now, whether the information has been put out deliberately, whether it's been put out through ignorance, whether it's put out by people who just don't understand or don't know, unfortunately, it gets repeated and repeated over and over again, and it leads to problems. I think we all know that crime is a problem. Crime is a concern. Crime bothers everybody. Nobody likes crime or increases in crime statistics. Nobody wants to be the victim of crime. Nobody wants to live in a crime-ridden community. But as much as we all hate crime and we all want to do something and fix crime, we need to do things that will actually fix it. So let's start looking at crime a little bit here, a little bit further. And the big thing we're going to look at in this video is, are guns the problem? People blame a lot of crime on guns. Guns, in my opinion, are an inanimate object. Now, I'll openly say that I'm very much pro-gun. I'm very much pro-2A. I own firearms. I have a permit and carry firearms. I teach people to carry firearms safely. I help people work on their home defense plan to better protect themselves and their family against crime. So, are guns a problem, or are they a solution? We also hear a lot about these things called assault weapons. Now, assault weapons is a wonderful term. It makes it sound very bad and makes all the gun that we call an assault weapon sound very evil. But if your child's Little League bat is used to hit somebody over the head with, would it now be an assault bat? If we use our kitchen knife to stab somebody, would it now be an assault knife? How about if it has a fancy handle on it? Would it be a dangerous assault knife, a weapon of war? How about, a can opener? You can stab someone with a can opener. Would that be an assault weapon then? Well, you've assaulted them with it. How about a brick? If you hit someone over the head with a brick, is it an assault brick? So we gave this term assault weapons, and we hear about them in the media all the time, but we don't even know what they are because it's very poorly defined. And are they even a problem? Well, let's go one step further. Back in 1994, they had an assault weapons ban, and it banned all those assault weapons that they had trouble even defining what they were, but they came out with these wonderful definitions. Didn't make a lot of sense, in my opinion, but okay, we had it out there. And it was in place from 1994 to 2004. In 2004, they had to reauthorize it or renew it, and they did not. Congress chose not to renew it. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's because of, some reason, or we didn't take crime seriously enough. Quite frankly, from what I'm going to show you, I think you'll wonder whether it did any good. We tried it for 10 years. Did it work? Maybe, maybe not. So let's look at crime. Starting off, these numbers are from the FBI Uniform Crime Reports. These are FBI stats. I'm not making them up. You can go back and you can check me on this. In 2000, we had 13,230 murders. In 2001, 14,061 murders. Now, that seems like it's going up a lot. However, by 2018, we had 14,000 murders. 2019, we had 139,000 murders. Unfortunately, 2020 and 2021 are not out as of the time I put this together, so we can't really see. One thing I think we can look at from all those numbers, has crime dramatically increased, at least murders, has it dramatically increased over that 20-year cycle? I don't see a dramatic increase. Now, when we look at how many of these murders are based on firearms, well, guns accounted for about 65.5% of the murders in 2000. They accounted for about 73.7% in 2019. So again, slight increase there in the murders by guns, even though there's not a major increase in the number of murders themselves. If we go one step further, other weapons, including knives or hands or feet, punching, kicking somebody. The knives would include any kind of stabbing, slashing weapons, swords, daggers, anything like that. Again, we can see kind of where they're coming in. There was a decrease in knife murders from 2000 to 2019 and a slight increase in gun murders, but that was about the big overall change. As far as hands and feet, they're being used less in 2018 and 19 than they were earlier, but again, we're still having about the same number of murders. Now, when we break into guns, we can break it further into different types of guns. Let's look at shotguns, for example. Now, in 2000 and 2001, which were during the assault weapons ban, which covered some types of shotguns, there were 485 and 511 murders by shotgun. And by 2018 to 19, now we're down under 250. So there's actually been less murders by shotgun subsequent to the ban expiring than we had during the ban. Now, let's talk about rifles. Everybody knows rifles, such as the big bad assault rifles, are always going to be the root of all crime. Well, I know that a lot of the politicians like to talk about assault rifles ban, and we need to get rid of assault rifles and these assault weapons of war, and these AR-15s and AK-47s, or as one politician referred to them as AK-14. I don't know what he was talking about, or an AR-14 doesn't exist, but if we took out every rifle, took away, confiscated every rifle, that's how many murders we'd get rid of. So let's look at this real closely here. Rifles, all rifles, account for 411 down to 2019, 364 murders in this country. That's 2.6%. In 2018, 2.1%. Now, please understand, I'm not saying for those 200-300 people that it's not awful and I wouldn't want anyone to be murdered or lose a loved one. That's not what I'm saying. But if we went out and banned every single rifle, I'm not talking just AR-15s or just AK-47s, I'm talking your grandpa's deer rifle, every single rifle was confiscated by the government, every single long gun, every single shotgun, would we do any good? When in 2019, we had 200 shotgun murders, 364 rifle murders, we would effectively address 565 murders out of over 13,000, almost 14,000, by taking every single long gun out of the hands of every single American civilian. That's right, we'd get rid of 565 out of close to 14,000. Looking at this, again, color by numbers, out of 13 to 14,000 murders a year, all rifles would address less than 3% of the murders. Now, for those 3%, that would be great. But what would happen? Would people just switch to other weapons? Would those 300 or 400 murders a year happen by some other mean? Quite possibly. Would it be handguns, knives, something else? We hear all about how bad assault rifles are, but this isn't just assault rifles. This is all rifles. Less than 300 to 400 per year. And again, these are FBI statistics from the Uniform Crime Report. So now let's go back and we'll look at, did the old assault weapons ban that was in effect from 94 to 04, did it actually work? Well, let's look at the numbers. The 4 years prior to the assault weapons ban expiring, from 2000 to 2003, there were an average of 14,004.75 murders per year. After the assault weapons ban has been expired, the most current, we have 14,562 murders per year on average. Okay, so we've had a slight increase of about 3.9% murders. Okay, how many of these do you think fed into the assault weapon stuff? Well, if we break it down by rifle murders, in the last 4 years of the assault weapons ban, we averaged 419.5 murders a year. Now that it's been expired for 15 years, the murder numbers by rifle have decreased. They are actually lower since the assault weapons ban has been gone for 15 years. So if we're going to say that the assault weapons ban was totally useless, and again, actually we've had less murders by rifle without the assault weapons ban than we had with it. Yeah, these are FBI numbers, folks. So did the old assault weapons ban that everyone talks about they got rid of the assault weapons ban, we need to bring it back. Did it do any good? No. We tried it for 10 years. We proved by these numbers very conclusively that it did not work. It did not change anything. It was a poorly written law to begin with. It did not effectively do much of anything. And technically, there have been less rifle murders without it. So we're safer without it. And these are FBI numbers. But what about the active shooters? We hear a lot about active shooters and how active shooters use these rifles. Well, we can talk about that in some of the active shooter material I'm going to be putting together, but I'll give you a quick one. Per the FBI, 61 active shooter incidents in the U.S. in 2021. This is their report. Rifles were the weapon of choice in 10 out of these. So 10 out of 61. So 1 out of 6 active shooters used a rifle. 1 out of 6 used a rifle. So would this have actually helped if we got rid of all the rifles in the world? And again, I'm talking deer rifles, hunting rifles, every single rifle out there. We confiscate every single one of them. Would this actually help? Well, it could have potentially helped in 10 out of 61. 1/6 or less than. This is, again, a lot of great talk by a lot of people in politics and the media wanting to talk about assault rifles and AR-15s and all these big bad guns. But when you look at the numbers, we proved once that the assault ban didn't work. Now let's look at this. 1 out of 6. Well, again, for that 1 out of 6, that would be great. But when you do a little bit deeper dive into this, in most of the cases, which I believe was 7 out of the 10 cases that used a rifle, the shooter had multiple other firearms or weapons as well. So even if we were magically able to make all the rifles disappear, well, that would eliminate those 10 out of 61 active shooters. But in 7 of those 10 cases, they had something else. Now, we don't hear about that, unfortunately. And again, I think this is part of the lack of reporting, lack of the media following up on some things, and also they're pressing an agenda. Let's look at this. A good example is the Buffalo, New York. We had an active shooter go on up there in May of 2022. I think everyone's heard about this. Within moments of this happening, everyone talked about, the active shooter is a white supremacist with an AR-15, and everyone knew he had an AR-15. Whether you knew what an AR-15 was or not, you know what? We have to get rid of AR-15s, because I heard this thing, and AR-15s have to be bad because it says AR-15 on the side of it. Well, let's look a little bit deeper. He also had a Mossberg 500 12-gauge shotgun and a Savage Axis XP hunting rifle with him. And I'll tell you right now, that 30-06 is a pretty impressive cartridge. Much more impressive than the 223 ammo that he was shooting out of the AR-15. So we can talk about, again, dealing with this, but until we deal with it honestly, until we sit down and analyze this stuff, nobody's going to be able to fix it. We can pass a law like we did in 1994, and it won't do any good. We can go out and we can demonize AR-15s as the worst thing in the world, and how they're military weapons of war. Well, they're not. I can talk about the AR. There's articles on our locals page about the AR-15, and we're going to be doing a couple of videos coming up on AR-15s. But for now, all I can say is please, read statistics, read the reports, dig a little bit deeper. We have to know what we're talking about. One of the biggest fears that I have is that we will go out, we will pass ineffective or useless laws, such as the assault weapons ban or anything else, which quite frankly, I was around in those days, and I remember all it did was cause people to hoard and hide what they already had. So we can go out and we can ban something and confiscate something, and we can make a big deal out of it. And it won't work. And when you pass one law to fix a problem and it doesn't work, what do? Then they're going to ram another law through, and another one, and another one, and another one. There are some gun laws that'll work, and I'll talk about those in another video. But for now, understand what we're dealing with, that when you hear about assault weapons, assault rifles, that's not what's really happening. When you hear about all these people being murdered by an AR-15, yeah, less than 500 per year in the entire country out of 14,000. So again, let's fix a problem. Let's address a problem. If you want to find out more or look up some of these articles, check out our locals community. That's thegunclub.locals.com. We've got some articles there. We've got humor. We also post some current events. You feel free to email me, mike.southeastdefense@gmail.com. This is our Rumble channel. We'll be putting up more and more videos and podcasts with more and more good, accurate information. We want people to be well informed. We want people to understand what's going. Thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day.